Welcome back! It's time to learn about part 2 of Wave 5, the second cup. I forgot what it was called, but either way, this is on 200cc, just for those of you who didn't see part 1. So, if you didn't see part 1, please look at that now. It should be linked in the description. So, nothing too fancy so far. Just, drift around the corner, trick off the ramp. It's all pretty basic for the Los Angeles laps to this point. I go up the middle here because there are 2 speed boosts. You can see on 200cc though, it doesn't really matter because you go over this one. So you should actually probably aim for the one on the right because that's the way you make the tightest turn. Here you're going to want to brake drift so that you don't hit this wall. And then if you're on time trials or you have a mushroom, you want to use the mushroom here because you can cut off a lot of track with that one mushroom cut. Moving forward, this is kind of just a boring straightaway. There's not much to oh, I hit the wall there. There's not much to this track. It's very boring. I don't really like it, if I'm being honest. Oh, it's Dodger Stadium. Look, Dodger Stadium. Say hi to Dodger Stadium. For those of you who are unaware, the Dodgers are the baseball team that play in Los Angeles. Here we have the second spot you're going to want to use your mushroom. Again, only for those of you who are playing on 200. This is a very boring track. I have very little to say about it. Here it gets a little interesting. So you want to start a drift so that you're facing to the left, but you want to trick anyway. Then you should be on line to go straight down this path. Don't drift around this corner. It's tempting, but don't, because you're about to need to go the exact opposite way. So start turning to the left, trick off this ramp, and you should be in position to make that turn. It's a very boring track. The CPU ghost goes to the right, so I did the same thing as the CPU ghost. I don't know if that's faster. Somehow it does have that little speed boost ramp that I just went over. Ignore that glider ramp. It doesn't make you go faster if you're not willing to expend a mushroom on it, and you don't want to expend a mushroom on it. There's probably a way that you can get, like, drift boost to get you up there, but... oh, and then there's your last mushroom. It's a very boring track. There's very little to be said about it. Moving on. Sunset Wilds. This one's also relatively boring. There aren't that many secrets to it. I beat the CPU ghost very easily. There's a ramp over here, so that's where you want to use your mushrooms. And it's a one-lap track, so otherwise there's literally nothing at all. Very short and kind of boring. This is going to be a much quicker video because I have much less to say about these tracks. Here, these little boosts, they look flat, but you can trick off them, and you should trick off them. And then otherwise, same story. Take that ramp, and that's the whole thing. Very basic. Koopa Cape is more interesting, so it starts off pretty normal. You're going to want to drift. Don't trick off this ramp here, because then it'll be too hard to get yourself back under control. You're going to want to drift and then take this U-turn. Just go straight over this ramp here. So the current on 150, if I recall correctly, this current pushes you a little bit to the right, so on 150cc you may want to aim farther to the left on this jump ramp, because the current's going to push you to the right as you go along. On 200cc, it barely makes a difference. You want to hit this one that's kind of in the water right here so that the current can still... because the current's your friend. The current is going the way you want it to, so you want to hit the right side so that you can have as much of the current as possible in your favor. Moving on here, this is where you're going to want to use your mushrooms every lap between this red shell and that wall. So I don't do this jump correctly here. So you do want to trick off this, if I understand correctly, but you want to trick off it as early as possible. And see, you see here, I wait until, like, the edge. I don't know exactly why it worked that way, it just does. So when you're here, you want to trick as early as possible. I don't know if you can trick here because I didn't try it, like at this point, but if you can, then like this is around when you would want to press the trick button. Also, if you're on motion controls, then just shake your controller as you come up to this ledge. And then you should almost never take half pipes. Half pipes just tend to be a bad idea. Unless you need items, there are usually items above the half pipes. But ignore the half pipe, just go past it. And then don't trick off this, instead make a right drift. This waterfall is much more destructive in the Wii, so you can go here, it doesn't kill you, at least not on 200. And then release your turbo, and that's the whole track. It's a one-lap track. And finally, Vancouver Velocity. I did terribly with this one. Here, it feels like you can hold this drift until it turns orange. You can't. Don't try or you'll hit the wall. Otherwise, just trick off all these ramps leading up to... Oh, and collect all the coins you need to. If you're going to beat the CPU Ghost on Vancouver Velocity, you need all the coins you can get. Hold your drift here. It's tempting to release it, to just release the blue drift and go straight, but hold your drift until you get to that coin, then release this way, trick off that, and do a land drift. So as soon as you hit the ground, start your left drift. And then here you can hold it until it turns purple. I didn't. It doesn't make that much of a difference, because if you hold it for too long, you won't be facing the right way. You're going to want to use your mushroom here, and use it a little bit early, so that its momentum doesn't make this turn harder. You want to take this turn as close as you can, obviously, because inside lines are better. So, I use this mushroom a little before I get there, so that its momentum doesn't carry me all the way to the wall on the other side. Here it gets a little tricky, because you can either drift or trick, but you can't do both. So if you trick, then you can't drift when you land. I chose to drift instead of tricking. I don't know if that makes much of a difference. I believe the CPU Ghost did a trick instead of drifting, but... And then here... I don't know exactly how this happens, but once in a while, actually for me it was most of the time, I would hit this staircase and Toad would fly in the air. That didn't happen this time, and it's good that it didn't happen, but I don't know how to make it not happen, so I can't really instruct you on that. And then you're going to want to use your mushroom here between these trees, because the track continues on this side. Off the glider ramp, hold it as long as you can. When you get here, it's going to continue, the track is going to continue to go left, so you're going to want to hold this drift for as long as possible. So you start this drift like in the hockey stadium, and then you hold it, because that's where the track has you going. I think I held it a little too long, because I hit the wall on the other side. And then, last lap. The CPU Ghost doesn't do this, but I do, because I think it is faster. You want to use your mushroom through that off-road in the tunnel. The CPU Ghost like use it later through a little patch of grass that is much less beneficial to them. So that'll give you an edge if you're on time trials. Then you're gonna want to hold your drift through here for as long as possible, and then see it turns purple for just a second, and then I can release the Ultra Mini Turbo. Here, again, you don't want to trick. It's a theme for 200cc. You don't want to trick. You want to start your drift instead. And then, even then, I barely am able to take it. And then here, again, the track is going to go to the left, so you want to start your drift down here. And follow the turn. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. I might release videos like this for most of the cups in the game, just in case anyone needs help with them. Let me know if this was helpful, if there's something you're struggling with that I didn't go over, and I will see you next time.